It's time to get all your Star Wars news in a single file. This is Canon Fodder. Here are your hosts, Brian Cameron, Matt Booker, and Mark Newbold.
It's February 2019, it's a new dawn, so grab your bookmarks, it's time to take cover as we unleash the Canon Fodder over the Star Wars galaxy of literature. Canon Fodder is the home of Fantha Tracks Radio for everything Star Wars literature, from comics, books, magazines and partworks. Every month we delve below the depths of the covers to see what's new in Star Wars literature, analyse it and give it our honest assessment. We cast our eyes to the future and see what releases we can't wait to read, look back at classic releases, meet and talk with the talent creating the content, as well as discuss the latest literature news. It's been 16 months since Matt, Mark and I have sat down to record a literature podcast, way back when we did the Take Cover show, and it's great to be back on a new platform with a new show talking about the stuff we love. So who are we? I'm your host Brian Cameron, a comic and book collector. I've been collecting for 30 years with a big penchant for variants and foreign language releases. Mark, introduce yourself.
Oh, I get to introduce myself. I'm Mark Newbold. I am a Star Wars collector of books and comics and all sorts of tat. And if I had to pick my focus in terms of literature, it would probably be anything to do with Fantha Tracks, which is probably why the site's called Fantha Tracks. So that's my focus. Love the comics as well. Big Marvel collector as well. So that's my jam. Matt, what about you, mate?
Comic retailer, this year celebrating my 25th year retailing comics. Ever since the start of retailing comics, I collected everything Star Wars from Dark Horse onwards. Went back and did the old Marvel stuff, enjoyed all that. Don't do variants, stuff that, can't be arsed with it. Far too many comics to do that with. That's why all the ones I get in the shop go to Mark.
Yeah.
And love the comics. Focus, one of every comic in the simplest, easiest of forms. And then my main focus is Boba Fett collecting. Any old stuff with Boba on it. Classic, original trilogy Boba, I'll buy it.
And it's been a long time since we've been podcasting together. And normally we start the show by talking about what we've been up to. But I reckon we don't do the whole 16 months or we could be here a long time. So what have we been up to over the last few weeks? Because we've had a few things on the go.
Well, we only met each other like 2 days ago for Dave Tree's birthday.
We did.
Host of Making Tracks, our sister show on the Fantha Tracks Radio network.
Yep, I moved shop to a new unit that's 3 times the size that Mark came down and helped and painted with Richard Mitchell, one of the other Fantha Trackers, which was kind of cool. So I've opened up that. So that's taken up a lot of my time in the last couple of months. What about you, Mark?
I'm now writing once again for the Star Wars Insider after a little break. So I'm thrilled to bits with that, and still writing for Star Trek magazine as well. So that's all good. Still writing for Starburst. So the writing's all going well. Obviously, since we last did a literature podcast, which, like you say, seems like an awful long time ago, we have launched Fantha Tracks, which is going from strength to strength. People are enjoying it. I'd like to think they're enjoying it. We're certainly enjoying it and having a good laugh. So life is good. The Star Wars galaxy is good, busy as ever, and can't wait for episode 9. I've got to say that. I'm really jonesing for that big time.
And I think it's time we get stuck into the Star Wars literature and chew over the latest fodder. January was quite a slow month for book releases. We kicked off the year on the 8th of January with Pirate's Price by Lou Anders, a Disney Lucasfilm press book. It's part of the Flight of the Falcon series, which has been part of IDW's comics as well. It features Hondo, who I don't know because I don't watch the cartoons, but you guys do, so you can maybe enlighten me as to who Hondo is.
Do you want to have a go at this one, Matt? You know Hondo, don't you?
Hondo's awesome. He's a really cool character, and amazingly voiced by Jim Cummings, the voice of the classic Winnie the Pooh. He's a pirate, a scoundrel, and a real fun, sort of hilarious, jokey character who gets his way in the end. He's featured in a lot of the cartoon series from Clone Wars and Rebels and other bits and bobs. And, yeah, a good protagonist. Not a mean-hearted soul, but fun. He's
definitely a scoundrel, like you say. He's kind of got a sort of a roguish edge to him. And his accent's phenomenal. It's kind of Italian almost. To me, anyway, that's the way he sounds. He's got an Italian edge to his voice. And he's a weak way.
Yeah.
Italian. It's a weak way, like the skiff guards from Jedi. So there's all of that going on, and I love the fact in Rebels and Clone Wars, whenever you heard his henchmen, they all spoke with the Graf London accent. I always thought that was really funny. So, but he's a great character. I think he was in Forces of Destiny as well. So, Brian, you'd be well served to seek him out and find some more Hondo stuff. I think he's even involved somewhere in Galaxy's Edge. So they've really thrown him deeply into the cabin.
If I just imagine someone south of the Watford Gap, then that's Hondo.
Yes, that's basically Hondo. Hondo, yeah.
So as I mentioned, it's part of the Flight of the Falcon series, which comprises Star Wars Adventures 14 through 18, the IDW comics, as well as the reference book Millennium Falcon, a 3D owner's guide. Cavan Scott, friend of ours who's been on our podcast previously and we hope to have on Canon Fodder in the future, his Choose Your Destiny, a Luke and Leia adventure, and also Lando's Luck by Justina Ireland, who we had the pleasure of meeting in New York. Lovely lady. Hopefully she'll be at Celebration. I think she's been announced for Celebration, in fact.
I think she has, yeah.
Highly entertaining.
Yeah, they've not all been determined where they're appearing, though, because, I mean, you've been announced as a guest host at Celebration, haven't you, Mark? But we don't know where you're appearing yet.
Well, no, but I'll be probably signing autographs in the car park. That'll be me.
Parking lot. We're in the American market. Oh, dear.
As I say, Hondo is the central character to the novel. He's in all three stories that comprises the whole of the book. Each story is in a different timeline, so you've got one set just after Solo, a Star Wars story, one just before The Force Awakens, and one after The Last Jedi. And in each of his stories, he encounters the Millennium Falcon and Han and Chewie. And it also hints that we may see a little bit more of Hondo in Star Wars Resistance in the future, as it kind of ends with him looking to hire a flight crew. Possibly, we might even see him in The Mandalorian, the TV series coming up with Disney Plus. Interestingly, the novel's told in first person by Hondo to Bazine Natal, if you remember her from The Force Awakens.
Yeah, Mazzy's Castle, yeah.
Yeah, and it's set on Batuu, which is what Galaxy Edge Park is going to be, which is kind of interesting. The first tale is called A Ship to Remember. It's a heist story. Second tale is Hondo and Maz Save the Day. So, of course, Maz Kanata, set on Takadona. And the last tale in the book is called Attack of the Porgs, and that's set just after the Battle of Crate. Hondo there is enlisted to repair the Falcon after the battle, taking it all the way back to Batuu. There are lots of nice little connections, as you can see.
How does that tie in with the end of
the Battle of Crate? Well, after the Battle of Crate,
after Battle of Crate, you've got the last issues of the Poe Dameron comic.
You have, it's very, very loose, and basically that he's employed to, Hondo's employed to fix the Falcon, and it's set just after the Battle of Crate, but it's hard to sort of determine where it is in the timeline, and he takes it back to Batuu to repair. Lots of nice little connections there across the different timelines, across the different films, and it really starts to sort of lay the groundwork for and tease what they might be coming up for in the future. I'm guessing he's a character you guys kind of like, so you'd like to see him appear elsewhere.
Yeah, definitely. He's fun.
Yeah, he is.
And every time he's reappeared over the years in the animated stuff, he's just been like, yep, Hondo's back, he's cool.
And he bounces up other characters as well, doesn't he? He was great fun with Obi-Wan. He was fun with Hera. You know, he's been fun with other characters, so he's definitely worth, with Anakin, with Ezra. Everybody's had interesting interactions with him. It's always been a fun story, so definitely, yeah.
So it's a fun little book to pick up. Pirates Price by Lou Anders. Also on the 8th of January was Star Wars Resistance, Meet the Pilots by Disney Lucasfilm Press. Young Reader's World of Reading Book Level 2, set obviously around the TV series Star Wars Resistance with Kasuda and the other pirates from the series. It's an adaptation of the...
Yeah, our friend Mr. Christopher Sean, who on the opening episode of the cartoon series replied to you, Brian, said you shouldn't fall asleep watching Star Wars cartoons.
It was very late at night after a long day.
Bless. The rest of the Fantha Tracks stayed awake.
I was going to say we were awake. I mean, the moment was marked, but each to their own, Brian.
Yeah. It was too fast-paced for me, we'll say that. This book's an adaptation of the episode The Recruit, written by Ella Patrick. I've not had a chance to read the book yet, but the TV series, you guys have been watching some of the episodes. What do you think?
I'm up to date by the latest 2, and it's got a lot better. Yeah, there's a bit more going on with it. The First Order protagonists coming in and out, and there's been some really good episodes, yeah. The
most recent book release has been on the 7th of February, Where's the Wookiee #2. The first Where's the Wookiee book was actually the best-selling Star Wars book of the past 10 years. So
even beat the DK Lego books?
Yes. So this is its sequel book, and this is it now hitting the shelves in paperback. Chewbacca's back on the loose around the galaxy, and this time he's brought some Wookiee friends. Can you find the hairy hero and a host of his favourite characters in another search and find adventures?
Find the hairy hero.
Well, we've got our own hairy hero at Fantha Tracks, haven't we? So
I don't know who that is.
I think you do.
This book, they're introducing locations from The Force Awakens and Rogue One. You've also got Han Solo, Luke Skywalker, Kylo Ren, Darth Vader, and more scattered amongst the adventure. So another fun little book for the kids. These books seem to be really popular. I've seen almost similar publication just on the bookshelves there, but for Disney, for Mickey Mouse. So
yes, same logo as well, isn't it? Very similar logo on the cover.
Yeah. So
I've seen some similar ones when I was a kid. They were called Where's Wallace? Wally? Where's Wally?
Where's Wally?
I saw those. Yeah.
They were
quite similar as well.
Americans will know it as Where's Waldo.
Yeah. I wonder what came first.
The chicken.
There we go.
We also have out on the 16th of February a book exclusive to the French market, Star Wars Resistance #1. And wait for this while I do my French. Le Nouvel Espion. I apologise to our French readers. Apparently that translates as The New Spy. It's a Star Wars Resistance book. During a high-risk mission, Kazuto, a talented young piloter, is spotted by Commander Poe Dameron, who offers him a chance to join the Resistance. But the clumsy boy does not really have the profile of a spy until having to participate against his will in a dangerous race. Will he meet the challenge? So I'm assuming this is going to be an adaptation again of the cartoon, coming out exclusively in France, softcover, 128 pages. And that was all the books that came out in January, a very slow month, which was very similar to December. We've had quite a lean period when it comes to books. But over the last sort of quarter at the end of last year, we've had some pretty amazing big releases. Star Wars iCars, huge tome of a book, definitely a coffee table book.
You can get it, Ryan, yet?
I've got it. I've started reading through it. It's huge, and the amount of information in there, and new information to me as well, was huge. So it's one of these books that's going to take a long time to consume. But I think, Mark, you've had quite a good in-depth look into it.
Yeah, I got a copy to review for Starburst very kindly. They sent me one through, and it came on like a 48-ton flatbed lorry because it's a bit of a beast. It comes in its own carrying case, beautiful, very thick card carrying case, and the book is just it's an absolute treat, and it literally is a coffee table book in every sense of the word. It's huge. It's like you say, Brian, it's absolutely packed with information that I'd not seen before, images I'd not seen before. I'm again slowly working my way through it because it's not the sort of book you can just if you're reading a comic, you can read it wherever you're sitting. This book, you need to be sat at a table. So it's quite a hefty thing to go through, and you want to protect it because it's an expensive book. I mean, I think it retails about 150 quid, so it's not a cheap book at all. And I know there will be deals on Amazon as time goes on. I don't know if there'll be a paperback release. I can't imagine them doing that. But and I think the publisher, is it Taschen? I think it's a German publisher, if I remember correctly. But yeah, just fantastic. And the detail, there's new as well. This is what I really like. There's new interviews with George Lucas done over 3 days, over 2017 and 2018, I believe. But it just melds beautifully with archive interviews and just looks at the films. And of course, we've had the making of Star Wars Empire and Jedi by J.W. Rinsler, which will really probably never be matched in terms of detail and information. And this complements those books. It doesn't supersede them. It doesn't do anything other than complement them, which I think is probably the highest, compliment I can give it, because, those books and this are just the pinnacle of that background information on the making of the Star Wars trilogy. So, yeah, fantastic book. And it also includes time before Star Wars. It also goes onto the periphery of the dark time. So it talks about the Ewok movies and stuff like that. It's a really brilliant book. I can't recommend it highly enough.
We also had Han Solo Icons, another huge book.
We did. We had a competition running on the site to win a copy of that. So one of our illustrious Making Tracks readers luckily won a copy of that. Another fantastic book by Gina McIntyre, if I remember correctly, from Insight Editions. Beautiful cover. It's almost like a slipcase cover, but not. It's kind of die cut almost to a degree, with all the images of Solo, and of course it's Harrison and it's Alden Ehrenreich as well. And it goes into all the history of the character on screen, the creation of the character off screen, merchandise. It just touches on every facet of Solo. And again, it's another brilliant book. I've got to say, at the moment, there's releases that come out that are kind of quick and easy, and there's a lot of them. Maybe not over the last couple of months, but certainly last year. But yeah, this book is another one. It's an absolute doozy of a book. And again, and I don't think it's actually available, if I remember. I don't think it's actually available till April on the mass market.
It is in Europe available at the mass market. If you're in America, it's exclusive to Sideshow, and it will become mass market from 2nd of April.
Oh, there you go. I thought April was in there somewhere. So yeah, it's a wonderful book, and yeah, another one to look for. And hopefully, again, we reviewed it on the site, and I think I said in the review that there's no reason after doing a book of this quality that she couldn't do another book on Luke, on Leia, on any number of characters, because with characters like Vader, like Boba Fett, they've got a lot of merchandise and marketing. They've got interesting histories to creation of them and what you see on screen. There's a plethora. There's a word. There's a plethora of characters that you could actually go into and delve into to this degree. But I think they did the right thing starting with Han, especially coming off the back of Solo: A Star Wars Story. So yeah, really good book.
In magazines in January, we had Download Magazine issue 18, which now contains every second issue Star Wars Adventures. That used to be the magazine that used to come out on its own. Issue 18 contained an episode from Tales from Wild Space from the IDW Comics by Paul Crilly. It's a decent magazine. There's a few decent little things in it for the kids. It's just a shame that it's kind of lost in the mix as part of Download now and coming out bi-monthly. Also in January was Lego Star Wars 43. Matt, you've got the details on that one.
43. What was that one, Brian?
That was the Luke Skywalker minifig.
Oh, yeah. Well, I get them for a friend of mine in America, so I just pick them up and stick them in a box for him. But 43 was the Luke. 44, which was out last week, I think. Yeah, last week. That was out last Wednesday. Had the Resistance Bomber, because I had to let a mate of mine in the UK know, because he worked on building the real Resistance Bomber. And he thought that was kind of cool. And then next month's 45 has got a brand new micro build Slave 1 Classic Boba, which I'll have to keep one of those myself to build a little Slave 1, because it's part of my Fet Focus collection. I'll probably have to buy a load of copies of that from my Fet Focus friends around the world, because they'll all want a copy of that to be shipped to them. So I may even track down the French and German versions of that just for a laugh. Yeah, not really had time to read the comics. I have a flick through and see what's in them. They're always look really kind of fun. My son's had a few, but he's 8 years old, so he really enjoys that kind of stuff.
Mark, you've picked up Star Wars Insider 187, which also came out on the 6th of February, I think.
I did, yes, it did, yes. And beautiful cover. It's got a very Attack of the Clones focus. So we've got Jango on the cover of the newsstand edition, and the comic store edition's got a Republic gunship, and the subs has got the classic Drew Struzan Attack of the Clones covers. It's very much an Attack of the Clones focused issue. Yeah, it's a good one. It takes you through the Skywalker saga, and it looks at Attack of the Clones and the characters from that film. There's a good interview with Nick Gillard, who we've interviewed before. There's a look at 2 decades of Lego Star Wars, of course, because now we're into 2019. It's the 20th anniversary, not only of Phantom, but of Lego Star Wars as well. James Floyd, our buddy, who, of course, this time last year was with us in Norway in Finns, has done an article on, it's called Cosmic Couture, which is about galactic fashion and fans and stuff that they make. There's an article looking at the mistakes of the Jedi, things that they kind of did wrong that led to the rise of the Empire. Another article looking at clones and some of the most prominent clones in the stories. There's one on the stunts of Star Wars, or Solo: A Star Wars Story. And then some numpty has interviewed Michael Pennington, which would be me. Which was fascinating because he hasn't done anything Star Wars related for years and years and years, and I was very lucky to interview him at MCM London last year. So it's a good little interview with Pennington as well. So as always, it's packed with all the usual stuff, competitions, quizzes, look at stuff happening worldwide. There's the image archive, which I always think is rather cool, right at the back of the magazine. So yeah, it's a bit of a doozy. So that's Star Wars Insider 187.
Straight on to Partworks, and over at D'Agostini, they have just finished the Star Wars Helmet series here in the UK, doing the complete...
How many issues was that?
Yeah, they did the complete run of all 80 issues. So when
they did in the end?
They did. They started off the series, it was to be 60 issues. Over in France and Germany, Italy, they'd all ran to 80 issues. So I was panicking, thinking I was going to have to scramble and try and find 20 issues from abroad. But D'Agostini were delighted with the success of the magazine, and they expanded the run to 80. And it makes a great little display just outside my Star Wars collecting room. You were getting into quite obscure characters towards the end. You had some of the sort of weird aliens from Rogue One, and some of the pilots, X-Wing pilots from A New Hope were in late in the
so
run.
They could just repaint helmets they'd already done before then.
Also just finished is Build R2-D2. I finished my droid at pretty much 99% works. I had a small issue that when I first got it going, had obviously configured the head wrong and it sort of rotated far too quick, and I think one of the cables snapped, so I've lost one of the LCD little screens, so I need to open it up and maybe try and fix that. Martin Keeler, who runs the Fantha Tracks TV over on YouTube, he's almost at the end of building his as well, so we'll have some video up of our builds up on Fantha Tracks TV very soon. So it's a bit of a shame that they've come to the end. There was a nice little tribute to Kenny Baker at the end of Build R2, which was a nice touch, I thought. And that's obviously sad in itself, the passing of Kenny in the past year. And it's sad that we've got nothing new coming out from the Agostini here in the UK. They did test a chess run late last year. It doesn't seem to be coming to market. They've also done a test on Build Your Own X-Wing. They've actually done 2 tests in the UK on that, but there's no UK release yet as announced. It's currently coming out in America. It's a build of Luke's Red 5 X-Wing. In America, it's very expensive. It's $75 and it runs for 25 months.
Ouch.
So I think that's a problematic price point if you try and convert that back to the UK. Because
That does seem hefty, doesn't it?
Yeah. And
I'm sure it was around the same price point as the R2 when we saw... Good Lord, when was that we saw that? A couple of years ago, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Good while back, yeah.
Is that when we did Florida last?
I think so. It would have been, yeah.
It was the January before we did Florida last, because it was test marketed in my region, and I gave a copy of issue 1 and 2 to Fantha Tracker Big Kev, who has his own podcast in America, Big Kev's Geek Stuff, and they sponsor. He gets that sponsored by Agostini in America, or whatever they're called. They're not called the Ag in America, are they?
Model Space.
No, they're...
Model Space, that's it. Yeah, Model Space sponsor his podcast in the States. And he was sworn to secrecy about not talking about the X-Wing. So I gave him issues 1 and 2 to wind him up, and he got very excited about it.
So there's definitely a gap there in the market.
2 years ago.
Yeah, definitely there's a gap here now this year in the UK.
Yeah, I understand not having too much of an overlap with too many collectible partworks. I think that's a good idea, really.
Yeah, so hopefully something starts soon because I'm getting itchy fingers.
Well, we get no sort of lineup of when they're going to announce anything, do they? It just sort of appears in a shop and you go, oh, that's out. Right, let's go and scramble to find it.
It's traditionally they launch in January on the basis that they tend to advertise them heavily over Christmas. And so
February,
with everything finishing in December, start of January, I was kind of expecting it to be promoted over December, Christmas time. And it didn't, which was a shame.
And they're already making it in America because they've already made the whole thing, or at least most of it, I'd have thought.
You'd think that, but they don't. It's still sort of largely prototype because especially on Build the Falcon, a lot of parts changed from the original design during the actual build to the point that they even actually reissued some parts with a slightly different mold.
Blimey.
Yeah.
What, made you pay twice for it?
No, issued free is in a later issue. So it would fit with different parts, like a different cockpit with different windows and all sorts of little things.
It's fine. Nobody collected that magazine for the ship. They all collected it for the magazine. So, all that stuff's irrelevant.
Yeah.
Says the guy that wrote in the magazine.
I wonder if people who wrote it had to rewrite bits as well then. Mark,
sorry.
I said, I wonder if people who wrote it had to rewrite parts, Mark. Did you know about that?
Yes,
Did you write
there were bits. I worked on that,
Yeah.
Have you actually built it yet?
That was updates. Built it? No. Blimey, no. No, I've got a friend of mine who builds model boats, who's really skilled at building stuff from scratch. And I've said to him before, dude, I'm just going to turn up at your house with a great big basket full of, these bits and 100 magazines, and I'm hoping that you'll build it for me.
Yeah.
And he said yes, but the problem I've got at the moment is I've got nowhere to put it. So even if I built it, I wouldn't know where to put it. So at the moment, it is just sitting in a couple of big cardboard boxes in the top.
If I'm being truthful, it's been 2 years and 2 months since I got the last issue. And I still haven't done. I've built 99 issues. I haven't done the last one, and it's still sitting on my dining room table. It's terrible.
They never sent me the last issue.
Oh,
so I've only got 99 issues. I couldn't build the whole thing if I wanted to.
You've got 99 issues, and the dish ain't one.
Can I just interject with something as we're talking? And I'm paying full attention to everything that's been said, but I am just flicking through. Of course I am. I am just flicking through this issue of Fantha Tracks, and I can't believe that I didn't notice it when I read it the first time. But Johanna, Fantha Tracker Johanna, is actually mentioned in the Cosmic Couture article in issue 187. So we have got a Fantha Tracker in there other than me, which is kind of cool. So
the Insider, you mean the Insider.
In the Insider. What did I say?
You said the Fantha Tracks magazine.
Oh,
that's basically what it is now, isn't it, Mark? Now you're back on board.
That's the plan.
Galactic takeover.
If you want the official Fantha Tracks magazine, subscribe now. We do 3 covers.
$800 an issue.
There's a newsstand cover, a subscriber cover, and an exclusive previews one.
Actually, technically, there's a third person. There's Jay Stobie, who is yet to write for us, but he is actually officially on the website as a contributor. But I need to give Jay a little poke and see if he can get writing for us.
Well, no, also we got our friend Aaron from Boba Fett Fan Club, who doesn't write for us, but we help him out with stuff, and he helps us out with stuff. And he contributed to the Jango Fett article in there as well.
Better.
Fantha Tuckers are everywhere.
Over the world.
The galaxy.
The galaxy. The universe.
Come on, Brian, take control of this episode.
I'm going to, and I'm going to push us straight on to comics. So, starting right way back at the beginning of January and the 2nd of January, we had Age of Republic, Obi-Wan Kenobi by Jody Houser. You guys must have picked up this issue. I
did. Mark, did you?
No. Well, I did, but I haven't read it yet, so you talk about it.
Tell us about it, Mark.
Okay. It's a story that I'm just flicking through it because I read it, about a month ago. Yeah, it's a Kenobi story, and it's got him, and it's got Yoda, and it's got younglings in it, and it was quite a while ago, and I read it, so I can't remember it because my memory's like a sieve.
That's the best review we've ever done on Canon Fodder. That's fantastic.
It is. Him and Anakin go to another planet. The other planet's on a bit of turmoil. They've got weird birdie creature things that look like really lazy creature designs, in my opinion. Looks more something like out of Thundercats or He-Man or something.
Yeah,
And Ahsoka's got a holocron.
My take from it was that it was very non-consequential. It was just it was literally fodder. That's the way to describe it.
See, I have read all of the Age of Republic books so far, and as you say, Brian, very non-consequential completely. The Jango one was actually quite good. That gave a bit of a backstory to young Boba and Jango in it, but the rest of them are just, more of a Star Wars, Dark Horse Tales kind of thing of just like, oh, here's a little short story with a, oh, did we work it all out? Yes, we did. Did we survive? Well, yes, we're characters that we know survived past this, so there's no real peril in them.
Also, the 2nd of January, we had Han Solo, Imperial Cadet number 3 by Robbie Thompson. A solid enough series. It's a nice little tie-in in the movie, but it's just released at the wrong time. It feels like the Solo movie was so long ago now, and the complete lack of support it received from Disney marketing and effectively follow-up publishing in the second half of last year just means having releases just now, they just fall into this void, and that really suffers from being in that void as well.
Yeah, good issue. Really like the artwork. Loads of creatures in it, which I always like seeing. It was a big splash page on went to another planet, didn't they?
Yeah.
With all the gambling, and there's loads of creatures in that, which I kind of like. That was kind of funky and stuff, so that was really cool. And yeah, good little story. And it fleshed out that era of Han really, really well. So definitely worth picking up if you've not got it, or if you haven't started buying it and you can't find all the issues, wait for the graphic novel.
Talking of graphic novels, 8th of January saw Dr. Aphra Volume 4, The Catastrophe Con. The 9th of January saw the Jango Fett comic. You mentioned the Age of Republic Jango Fett, again by Jody Houser. You're a big Fett collector, Matt. You're the expert here. Tell us what you really thought of that comic.
I really enjoyed it. Really cool artwork by Luke Ross, because we love Luke Ross's artwork. He did didn't Luke Ross do the Han Solo miniseries, the Cannonball Run one, I think? But yeah, great issue, great story. Had a couple of the Grumgar species in there as well from Force Awakens, which I thought was kind of cool, putting them way back in the Jango era of Star Wars. Lots of cool characters, really, really cool artwork. Little appearance from Dooku. Fleshed out a bit of the Dooku asking. There's a 2-pager in there with Dooku talking to Jango about using his DNA to make the clone army, which I thought was very, very cool. It had Feline in it, so, that's really nice to see them. And a good little story of young Boba at the end of it, learning from his dad. So yeah, very, very good issue. All FET fans should pick it up. In my opinion, being a FET-focused collector and being a comic fan, probably the best of the Age of the Republic's comics so far, because it had really, really cool artwork, and it's got Boba in it as well.
Also out on the 9th was Star Wars 59, The Escape Part 4 from Kieran Gillen, and Star Wars Adventures Destroyer Down Issue 3 by Scott Beattie, the IDW comic aimed towards kids. Destroyer Down has been released over 3 issues over the last few months. It was previously released more than a year ago as part of a loot crate as a one-shot big...
Yes, I have that comic.
Yeah, and it features a friend of the site, Constable Zuvio.
Hey! Who wrote it?
Scott Beattie.
Right, wasn't Kevin Scott.
No, he's a regular contributor to Star Wars Adventures, but that wasn't one of his.
Yeah, and I picked it up in a second-hand shop down in Weston-super-Mare, near where Kevin Scott lives.
Yeah.
It was in a back issue bin for like 50p, and I went, that's the Loot Crate variant. Okay. So somebody in the UK must be subscribed to the Loot Crate, can get it sent to them in the UK as a Loot Crate, but in the UK we can't buy the Star Wars Adventure stuff. Dumb, stupid licensing agreements that people don't think of.
Yeah, it's a problematic one they're trying to resolve, but weirdly, Titan still have the license for Star Wars kids comics.
See, I don't understand it. I don't get why when Dark Horse were publishing all their comics, everybody in the UK as a retailer got hit with, a 10 pence per book tax, or maybe 20 pence per book tax that just went straight to Titan. So Titan just skimmed off the edge with the retailers, 20 pence per every Dark Horse comic sold in the UK, and it was known as the Titan Comics tax for everything Star Wars, because they had the publishing license for all Star Wars comics in the UK, and we were allowed them. When it changed to Marvel, fine, Marvel had it all, and told Titan, well, we're Marvel and we're Disney, so stick it, and we'd paid normal price. But then when IDW got it, we weren't allowed to do stuff at all, rather than just getting taxed like we did with Dark Horse. I don't understand it. I've asked people at Titan, I've asked people at IDW, and they're like, we don't know. Yeah. So it's
just the way the license still falls, that Titan still have the license for kids.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
And so
they don't publish anything for kids with Star Wars.
They do collect the Star Wars Adventures into not quite trade back size ones, but they are like a smaller size graphic novel, and they are coming out on a semi-regular kind of basis.
Comics. I don't want trade paperbacks. I want the original first prints. Thank you.
Well, just you go online and order from America and pay the extortionate exchange rate.
No. No, and that's made me just jump off collecting them. We picked a couple up when we were in the States last time. And then since then, I've just not bothered. And they've missed out a lot of money out of me, and a lot of the UK collectors they could have just got some cash out of.
Yeah.
But instead of carrying on with it and it's too much hassle, so I've just said no. Have you got them all yet, Brian?
I pick them up on a fairly regular basis.
Yeah.
The biggest issue with the IDW ones, because I'm a variant collector, is that they do retailer incentive covers.
Yep.
So trying to get them is ridiculously hard. And IDW love to do convention exclusives as well. But they don't tell you what convention it's going to be at necessarily. And so their convention exclusive, for example, let's just say for issue 15, may actually not come out until issue 18 is actually the one on shelves, because the convention is 3 months later. So it gets complicated if you try and pick up variants. But
well, we did pick up the Vader's Castle issue ones, didn't we, in New York?
We did, yeah.
Mark and I were walking past IDW with it. Oh, look, there's a guy signing. What's he signing? Oh, Star Wars comic. Right, go and buy a load.
But they're doing really nice stuff, IDW, in fairness to them. If they can get the whole licensing thing sorted out, it'll be great, I think. I think kids would love them.
The problem is that the UK is a drop in the ocean in their global market.
Yes, yeah.
And that's the issue, is, so what? And actually, you can go and buy all the IDW books in Forbidden Planet in the UK. Because, well, Forbidden Planet London era ones, because there's Forbidden Planet and Forbidden Planet International. But the FP International, which is London, and the Southern stores, sort of the two parts of Forbidden Planet, who are no longer associated companies at all, they just import their own copies from America themselves. Yep. Because they have a New York store, and they buy it through that and then ship it to the UK.
Makes sense. There's a market there, definitely.
Yeah, they've done it with a lot of books that have fallen foul to the licensing nonsense.
Yeah.
Because people can't sort their stuff out.
Oh, well.
It's like Disney Plus,
Yeah.
Hey. Let's launch that globally at the same time. Oh no, why would we do that?
16th of January saw some comics we can't get here in the UK. Whee!
Hooray!
Age of Republic, the special issue 1, and also Age of Republic Qui-Gon Jinn, another Jody Houser comic. Mark, you've had a read of Qui-Gon Jinn.
I have. I quite enjoyed it, but it was a bit weird in the sense that it felt very much like reading the Darth Maul special. The artwork was gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. Corey Smith on pencils, Walden Wong inking, really beautiful stuff. As you say, Jody Houser writing it. That was all fine. You really hear he who shall not be named's voice as Qui-Gon Jinn. The artwork is very vivid. So I enjoyed all of that, but there's a sequence later on in the book where Qui-Gon has a sort of a commune with Yoda. Fine, but then he goes to a planet and has almost a vision when he arrives at this planet and sees things that aren't really happening, and it's kind of like he's reaching into the Force. And that was so much like the Maul story, Age of Republic Maul, which again Jody Houser wrote and Luke Ross on art, beautiful art. And he kind of has a vision when he goes to a certain place, and they just felt very, and I'm sure that's the intention, but it just felt too alike, too close to each other, too alike. Yeah, inconsequential. That's the thing. I mean, they look great. The covers are gorgeous. Matt has got me via his wonderful new shop, Automatic Comics, and of course from Toy Shop, cheap plug. All the various.
I'll send invoice.
There you go. All the covers, the variant stuff's beautiful, but like I say, the story, and it's been the problem with Marvel Comics for a while. It just feels like one page of story stretched over 24, and nothing's happening, and you're not learning anything. And whilst I'm reading it and going, it's gorgeous art.
See, I thought the vision was him versus some Haribo strawberry laces in an Arthur trip. It was a very strange vision.
It does have that trippy dippy feel about it, and he's kind of in the aquamarine color, and so all of that was fine, and I'm set, I'm giving it a bit of a free pass because I like Qui-Gon so much as a character, and Neeson in the role so much, and the Maul one, and the Maul one is again, it's that era where he's basically tethered. You cannot kill the Jedi. We're hiding from the Jedi. We're waiting for the moment, and we know the moment comes when he takes on Qui-Gon on Tatooine. That's the moment. But so it's kind of, he's chomping at the bit to get going, but he can't. And we've kind of seen that in comics quite a lot. The Darth Maul mini, again, drawn by Luke Ross, was excellent. It was beautiful to look at. And he kind of goes on his mission, and in the Maul one again, here he's you get the sense that he's starting to build his own sort of contacts and network on the QT, on the quiet, which of course comes to fruition in Solo, because clearly, he's had that little inconvenience of being chopped in half somewhere between the two stories, but he's a networker to a degree. He's making plans and doing things, and so the seeds of that, which is good, but the Qui-Gon one, I don't really feel like I learned an awful lot about Qui-Gon in that, or Yoda, or any of them, other than just that little moment of him and Yoda having a bit of a conversation about the Force, and but not really learning much. So
it feels to me
is what it is.
Yeah, it feels to me like obviously they're doing the age of running Marvel's own Marvel Universe comics, that the licensing's come before the story, so they've decided, right, let's do an age of for Star Wars as well. And so the concept was born out of what they were doing in the Marvel universe. And so the stories come second. And so they're fine. They're fine. But it's not something I'm going to look back in 6 months and pick up again to read.
I thought they were all going to tie together somehow.
Well...
And there's no tying thread, really, is there?
Not really.
No.
That's disappointing.
There's weak threads that flow throughout, but nothing that sort of rings home.
No.
So
it's like a classic Marvel crossover then.
But usually, like I say, Marvel back in you mentioned, Brian, I didn't know that Marvel were doing that on their own titles. So if Marvel usually, when they have, and Matt will know this being a retailer, you have your Mutant Massacre with all the story crossovers, you have your Secret Wars, you have your Civil War. There's all the different titles, but they're all tying into one central storyline.
Yeah.
Marvel are excellent at doing it, and DC not quite so much, but Marvel especially good at it. So you would imagine, like Oh, now what was the Dark Horse? Sort of Vector? Was it Vector?
Yeah, Vector.
When Dark Horse had all the,
which was great.
Which
was great. Yeah.
Yeah. Which made sense because there was a common thread. There was that character that came all through in the rat ghouls and all that sort of stuff. So that was
and he
that was cool.
Came back alive again, didn't he? He went into hibernation, a bit Dracula-esque, I think. I remember.
Yeah. That's it. But this, and I say I've only read 2, and there was a thematic link in the terms of Maul and Qui-Gon. Of course, one kills the other, having this sort of vision, one a Sith dream, one a Jedi dream, if you like. But other than that, it just didn't really mean anything, and I didn't learn anything. But I've probably spent £20 buying variant covers. But more fool me, Matt. More fool me.
Oh well. I'll just be your dealer and hit me up.
You've been my dealer for years.
Yeah. 23rd of January saw Star Wars 60 hit the shelves. Follows swiftly on the 30th with Dr. Aphra 28, Solo issue 4, and Star Wars Adventures issue 17. Into early February, and we had Age of the Republic, Anakin Skywalker, Jodie Hauser release again, and Star Wars. That was
good as well. I quite like that one.
Yeah?
Yeah. Good little story, nice little artwork, a good sort of angsty Anakin issue, and Yularen saying, we're going to go and blow the crap out of this planet. And Anakin went, no, don't do that, because there's, like, people working on there who aren't, like, evil or anything. So Anakin
like the 200,000 people working on the Death Star?
Yeah, we won't talk about that, but shh. Anakin goes down there, tries to save the people working and building the droids in the droid factory, because they've not got the droid factory up and running yet, and finds out they're all slaves. So he has a little sort of Anakin-y moment and flashes back to him and Watto and gets all stressy. That was good.
We also had Star Wars 61, The Escape Part 6 from Kieran Gillen, wrapping up the comics we've had out over the past month.
I've not read that yet. I've not read 60 or 61 of Star Wars yet. But how
61 has the Outrider in it, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. Right at the opening. Yeah, I'm just flicking through it. 61 right at the beginning. There's Dash Rendar's Outrider right near the start, just after you do all the naughty Imperials, having a bit of a chit-chat in an Imperial lander.
Yeah.
Only Kieran's got a couple more to go.
Yeah, he finishes up in issue 67, which we're about to hear about in the news. In the news in the past month, we had word that the Millennium Falcon Collector's Edition book and model is going to come out, and an 18-inch model of the Millennium Falcon, shaped in the Falcon Solo style build with the weird-looking antenna and the little shippy thing at the front. It's going to be a big purchase, I think, somewhere in the region of $150 to $180. I bought the R2-D2 one that they did.
I got the mini version of that, and that was a really cool build.
Yeah, the big one is almost exactly the same, but just on a huger scale. So they've did the mini version of the Falcon, but the mini version of the Falcon was traditional A New Hope Falcon.
Right.
As there's so many versions of the Falcon now. But the big build one's going to be the solo build, despite originally way back 6 months ago when they started listing the Falcon, it was a big build shaped like the A New Hope build. So they've changed their mind and they're releasing it 2nd of April. And I'm going to pick that up and I'm going to build that because why not? Who needs another huge Falcon model in the house? I do. Another release coming up in April is Master and Apprentice from Del Rey, written by Claudia Gray. We've got the first blurb and it comes out just as Star Wars Celebration ends. Mark, if you had a chance to...
Will they make an exclusive version of the show, do you think?
Always going to have... I reckon they'll release it early as a show exclusive with an exclusive cover. It seems too obvious that they will.
Yeah.
Mark, have you had a chance to have a little read of the blurb that they announced, and what do you think about this book? And
I had a little scooch through it when we posted it on the site. I'm looking forward to it. Those two characters are kind of gold together, so I think... And it's an era again that bears investigation increasingly, and it's Phantom Menace 20th anniversary again, so it's another good excuse to go back to that time period. And I think people are now more nostalgic for that era than they probably ever have been. And in an era where people are quick to judge and quick to criticise and quick to attack, I would like to see the Phantom Menace especially get a little bit of love that it never got back in the day. So for them to be going back to these characters, especially at this time period, Anything with Qui-Gon, like I say, that's why I'm kind of giving the Qui-Gon Age of Republic a bit of a free pass because it's Qui-Gon. I like the character, and we never did see enough of him. But I'm looking forward to it, and I think that one should do well. I think that one will do very well.
It does have one line in it, which, when you consider real world issues at the moment, where it says Obi-Wan Kenobi has deep respect for his master but struggles to understand him. Why must Qui-Gon so often disregard the laws that bind the Jedi? Probably wasn't the best timed line for a blurb.
Yeah.
So, with that in mind, swiftly moving on, good friend of the site, Mike Quinn, has got a book out, or he's going to have a book out. He did a Kickstarter. And he's raised the money he wanted, £10,000 for the campaign. And so he's going to have out, I think he promised October time, a book called Talk to the Hand. You guys know Mike very well and the kind of work he's done over his career. So are you looking forward to...
his birthday. We helped organise his birthday last year, didn't we, Mark?
That's right. We sorted his cake out, which was kind of cool.
Did you?
Cakeology, I think. No, Bakeology, rather, made the cake.
Friends of Fantha Tracks, yeah.
That's
they
it.
baked a lovely cake for him.
They did. And it was very nice because we all had a slice.
We all had a lovely big slice of that.
He's a character. You've known him for forever and a day, Matt. I interviewed him back in 2005 for my old site, Lightsaber. And back then, it was before you could record on Skype. I don't even think there was a Skype back then. Maybe there was. And I just sent my questions off to an email address, expecting reasonably short answers to come back, as most people did back then, because it's a bit of a chore doing emails or interviews by email, rather. And he gave me paragraph after paragraph after paragraph. It was the best interview I had on the site by a long way in terms of information. And just learned so much about him just from that one interview. You know, his Henson Associations and the stuff he'd done on the films. And at the time, he'd worked on Attack of the Clones in the CG department working on Yoda. So he brought his techniques and skills to that. But quite apart from that, he's just a top bloke and he's always happy to talk and he's quick with a smile and quick with the story. So I'm definitely looking forward to getting that.
Yeah, I mean, I saw him 3 times last year because I saw him at London Film and Comic Con at the Showmasters event when we organised his birthday cake for him. Yeah. I then saw him. I didn't have a chat with him, but I saw him when we went and saw the Muppets at the O2, and he was performing on stage as one of the Muppeteers, which was absolutely phenomenal to see the guy actually working. Awesome, you know, that was just excellent, and all the Fantha Tracks went out for lunch and stuff. We had a good day there. And then I saw him again last autumn at Cardiff Comic Con, and I took my son along. And my son was actually, I mean, he's a little lad, and he was enamoured to have a good chat with Mike, and really, really enjoyed it. And Mike was over working on Galaxy's Edge, so he's actually worked on the ride for that as well. So he's done, you know, he's one of the few who's done every era of Star Wars films, isn't he? Yeah,
in one degree or another. OT on Jedi and Attack of the Clones, like you say, CG work, and then the prequels, the sequels rather, now back as Neo Num, and fantastic.
And Galaxy's Edge, that's awesome. Yeah, really nice guy.
We also had
the book should be fantastic. Is he doing an audiobook as well?
Don't know. I hope so. It will make sense.
So. He should do, yeah.
If not, he can come on the show and it'll just be a really long show.
I reckon we'll have a chat with him about that.
Yeah, definitely. We also had sad news in the past month that Kieran Gillen's going to step away from Star Wars comics after issue 67. He announced it himself that he's told all the stories he wants to tell with these characters, especially in that timeline, and he's got no more plans for Star Wars at this point in time. Matt, you spoke with him at New York Comic Con back in October.
I did indeed.
We featured that on episode 14 on Making Tracks, and he kind of hinted back then a little bit that his time was coming to an end. We can listen to a little bit of that audio right now.
I'm here at New York Comic Con with Kieran Gillen, writer of Vader, the old series, and Dr. Aphra, and now taken over since we last saw you on the new Star Wars.
Yes. I just waved at the phone, which gives an implication of how my brain is working today. Fans, remember that you can't record a wave. Sound wave, obviously, I guess.
Yes, anyway. We're recording sound waves.
Yes,
so, Star Wars.
Yes,
what a journey. What a blooming journey.
Thank you. It's like, you know, I kind of view it like my Darth Vader, honest. I've got a story I'm going to tell. It's kind of, okay, what is the fundamentally interesting thing that happens to Han, Luke and Leia between those two movies? And of course, everything that Jason didn't do, I'm going to do. So that's kind of that emotional. So having this arc where we're at the moment, we're halfway. We're just about to finish Hope Dies. I don't know. We finished this week. Hope Dies ended.
I've not read it this week because I've been out here like you.
Apparently, it was released this week, and that kind of. It's an enormous cataclysmic battle. That was kind of like, I knew it was like set up, and then like we knocked down all the dominoes in the middle.
You trashed everything down. So did you, when you got the gig taken over onto Star Wars from Jason, did you work out that you were gonna? Did you sort of plot out where you're gonna go from when you took over? To build in the character you had with Vader. And
actually, like Trios seemed like a useful character. It's like that kind of like when I started like. Because I knew that issue 50, I wanted to do what became the Battle of Makota. I knew that was going to be this enormous thing with the Rebel fleet, which they built. And that means we've got to build the Rebel fleet across the first 12 issues, just so we blow it up.
You really did destroy it.
Yeah, exactly. So that was the kind of. So at that point, I started thinking about ingredients. I mean, oh no, we've got like Trios lying around, especially because Leia's so important to this arc.
Yes.
Trios is a kind of like inversion of Leia, and these kind of like rulers with very different sort of perspectives. So it was a really interesting one to go. Trios was interesting. That kind of I always liked it in Vader, and the idea. Oh no, like you could definitely have some fun here.
Were you helping out with Afra still, or have you let the other guys just go off on their own?
They are off on a journey. In fact, I think the last issues is out short. I think the last issue in the arc, which I co-plotted, came out this week maybe, or maybe last week.
Last week. Yeah, I think last week.
And that is basically the end of. I mean, I'm really good mates with Sai, so it's not like baby. It's not like I'm not involved in any way. But that kind of in reality, no. Sai is the entire last arc was Sai was writing.
Right.
We co-plotted it, but we co-plotted on the high level, and the execution is so much about like where he was coming from. But that's it's still fun to see like bits which I had completely in the outline originally, and how Sai is executed. Like the bit where basically where Afra. When Afra basically, she's got one call to make, she calls Tolvan. And that kind of, literally, I'm calling you to tell you about Darth Vader's plans, because that means you're going to die too, so rescue me. And that, how Asai executed that was like, it was a joy to see. That was exactly like...
an amazing sort of derelict spaceship.
That was fully Sai's. I think that was Sai's idea. I'm pretty sure that was Sai's idea.
It's really cool, some great ideas going in, the whole gang and stuff.
Yeah, it's fun. It's like he's created this... Sai's added so much stuff to the franchise and the character and stuff around Afra, and it goes to really interesting places. So
play around in your sandpit.
It's a big, larger sandpit.
Yes.
And it's like.
But you created that little corner of the sandpit, I suppose.
There's a saying, I think, like, you can't, for work for hire, you can't get too attached because it's not yours.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I have a sense that when I'm writing characters in a shared universe, the characters become more real when someone else writes them. As in, they're less me and more like a creature or others outside of me. So it's quite fun to see Afra running off and doing her own thing. Little baby girls all grown up.
And you got an action figure of it. How cool was that?
It's very cool.
Have you got one?
I haven't. No, I've got a shop. The Big Bang, my favourite shop in Ireland. Not actually my shop in Ireland. Occasionally, they're really very good at supporting us, and they're getting a copy for me, which I've yet to get because we're very bad at organising it. But I've seen them in the flesh. They look amazing.
Cool. So what's next for you? Other than Star Wars, what are you working on else?
Well, like the main reason I'm at the con is I'm doing a book called Die, which is a book from Image, working with Stephanie Hands, who's an amazing painted artist. And I sort of boil it down to goth Jumanji. But it's that kind of like, it's a very, very bleak take on the Narnia and Dungeons and Dragons kind of like, as in the 80s cartoon setting. So it's about it's a midlife crisis book. It looks astounding. If you just Google Kieran Gillen Die, you'll find probably very people being angry about me, but you also find
no death threats.
diecomic.com, and they've got we've got a trailer there which explains what the comic's about.
Cool. It's in previews. You can order it in your comic stores now.
Well, now out December.
Yes. Cool. And you're doing Plenty More Wicked Divine.
Yeah. We're heading towards the end of that, as it ends next July. Like that's the other reason we're here, to do some press for the final arc.
And Cinema Purgatoria?
That is trundling along. I finished my scripts so that my story ends at issue 18. So like I've written them all, and I don't know when that happens. And Uber's like wrapping up. Oh, and just announced a book called Dynamite, Peter Canon Thunderbolts, which is my which is my revival. Me and Casper Windjard's revival of like a 1960s Charlton character, which is a lot of fun.
And lots of Star Wars still to come?
Yes.
You've got a long plot ahead of you?
It's me, I always know the end of my journey. So it's like another couple of arcs at least.
Yeah. Just enjoying it, playing the universe.
Yeah, it's like I said, I've got a story to tell, and I get to the end of the story and stop. And the same as like my Darth Vader, and then I'm not particularly interested in doing an ongoing.
I was gutted when that ended.
It's also.
But I can see where, if I had time to sit and reread it, I'd love to see the whole arc and the story of where you took it round through.
Exactly. I tend to. I don't mean pretentiously, but I tend to think what I do is novels. Like here's a novel told in chapters. that's what we did.
So you've got a plot to the end.
Yeah.
You know where you're going with it.
Yeah. It's fun.
Cool. Thanks a lot. See you again soon.
See you soon. Right, man.
So yeah, very sad to see Kieran go, because I've really enjoyed his writing on, Darth Vader and Afra and now the main Star Wars book. He sort of worked his way to the top, and hopefully once we've read the last of his issues, he's leaving on a high.
We also had the news that Alphabet Squadron is being expanded to a trilogy, and it's going to get its own comic spin-off called TIE Fighter. Looking forward to seeing the start of that series in the summer and see where Alexander Freed takes us. Star Wars Galaxy Edge, the Disney park that's going to open at some point this year in both American locations, is going to get its own comic set at the Black Spire Outpost. It's going to start in April. There'll be variants, I'm sure, all over the place, including at the park, for people mad enough to go on eBay and pay excessive prices as people try and get their money back.
I can hook you up with somebody who can get those for you at a far lesser rate, Brian.
Please, Matt, please.
Yes. We do know somebody at another far longer running original Star Wars Literature podcast who lives really near a Disney park, so I'll ask him to get a set. If they do them, obviously they will.
Please.
Yes.
The aforementioned Alphabet Squadron also got its own blurb. Sounds like it's going to be an interesting book. It's interesting that Del Rey are going this way, because I've kind of wanted an X-Wing series since the canon got rebooted. This is probably as close as we're going to get to that, I think. And we'll see what happens. The truth will be in delivery. Also, we've heard in the past month what's coming out in April from Marvel Comics. Obviously, we mentioned Galaxy's Edge of Ready. We get the kickoff of Age of Rebellion, which is going to see releases of comics on Princess Leia, on Grand Moff Tarkin in April. In May, Han Solo, Boba Fett, Lando, and Jabba all get their own comics.
A Jabba comic?
Yes.
It's been a long time since we've had a Jabba comic, isn't it?
A very long time. And it was
soup on hit.
A British writer that did the last Jabba comic, wasn't it?
Was it Alan Grant?
I think it was, yeah.
Yeah. With Cam Kennedy artwork, I seem to remember.
I think so.
They were awesome.
And in June we get...
The father of Judge Dredd. No less.
True.
I think.
And in June we get Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader with their own issues. That is a series I'm looking forward to, because we're starting to get into some different and interesting characters. I love the fact that Grand Moff Tarkin's getting his own issue.
That's cool. I think that's the coolest one. Will it feature the man with the cape there, Brian?
Probably not. Not.
You never know.
And of course, again, we mentioned the TIE Fighter comic series as well. That starts in April. So there's lots to look forward to coming out. And StarWars.com jumped in on the act by telling us as well about books coming out under the Galaxy's Edge banner as Disney really wrap up the marketing, despite Bob Iger's insistence that they'd be paying nothing on marketing and that he would just announce the park's opening with a tweet. He has got.
He knows you're all going to come anyway.
He knows fine that he's paying a lot for marketing, and he will be spoon feeding the media information for months on end, and that's why we're getting the comics, and that's why we're getting the books. And when he talks about spending no money on marketing, he lies, because his marketing's going to be viral. It's going to be everywhere. So what we're getting Black Spire, a novel from Delia Dawson. We're getting A Crash of Fate, a Disney Lucasfilm Press book from Zoraida Cordova. I apologise if I said her name wrong. That'll be a running theme on the show.
I think I sold her a pair of Ozu shoes at New York 2 years ago.
Did you?
Yep.
Oh well.
She did the worked on one of the short stories in that big book telling around the time of New Hope, didn't she? Zoraida Cordova? Yeah.
Yeah. I think she did.
Yep.
It'll be a running theme of this podcast. I will be destroying people's names as we go.
I think every podcast does that.
I think so. George Mann has got his first dabble into Star Wars publishing with his Star Wars Myths and Fables publication from Disney Lucasfilm Press. Illustrations by Grant Griffin. It looks stunning. I can't wait to pick up that book in August when it comes out. There's going to be all sorts of other stuff set on Batuu. We're going to get a Galaxy's Edge cookbook.
Woohoo!
Yeah, we're looking excited for that. Lots of little...
I hope it's vegan.
lots of little books and stuff for kids, comic series from IDW not yet announced. And so when he talks about no marketing, he's going all out, and it's going to be all summer long.
So do you think these books have like massive publishing runs so that it's just always in stock at the store there?
It's going to be.
Once you've queued for 19 hours, I reckon they need to put a store at the beginning of the queue system or throughout the queue system. So when you're spending your 14 hours queuing to do your 10-minute ride, you can buy books and read all about it rather than watch the screens of the same video.
Basically, if you buy the book, you'll see what you missed by standing in queue. It's got to be
in the 14-hour queue. You can read this book. Would you like to buy a copy? $20.
You know, they talked about Batu being a tiny little corner of the galaxy. It's going to be like the Tatooine. You're going to have so much stories centered on that part. Yeah. It's going to be a hub.
Is there going to be a book about those self-automated droids they're going to be running around, running people over with?
Yes, probably.
That'd be great.
On that note, we've kind of come to the end of the show, and we've got one last thing to do, and that's to pick what we're looking forward to most next month. So I'm going to jump in straight away, and I'm going to pick Star Wars The Emperor Strikes Back, the graphic novel adaptation coming from IDW. I've loved these publications. You know, they've done a few of the films already. Looking forward to picking up that one. What are you going to pick then?
Me?
Yeah.
The Lego Star Wars comics. It's got a Boba Fett Slave 1 with it. Sorted. I'll get something to build as well. And I'll build that Lego set, Brian. You
go for that.
Yeah, correct. I will.
Mark?
For me, it's The Insider have got a collector's edition out, The Best of Star Wars Insider. The saga begins, so it's looking at the prequel trilogy, so it's going back and picking up interviews and articles and such on the prequel trilogy, which is quite fitting for this year, with Phantom, as I say, being 20 years old, so that's the one I'm looking forward to in February.
Anything you've worked on in that issue?
I won't know till it's out because they never tell you. I find these things out randomly. Last time we were in New York at my Midtown Comics, I went through one of the specials and just flicked the pages, and there was an article reprinted in the one with Leia on the cover. I forget which one that was. So yeah, you never know until the magazine comes out. So hopefully, fingers crossed. I've done quite a few Phantom and prequel related articles, so fingers crossed there's something in there.
Always a nice surprise for you then.
Yeah.
Collectors of big hardcover omnibuses will be looking forward to Jason Aaron's collection of his Star Wars works. It comes out on March the 12th. Another big release that none of us picked, interestingly enough, is Star Wars Vader Dark Visions. The new comic series kicks off with Dennis Hopeless at the helm. This is
Dennis Hopeless? I thought somebody else was writing a Vader series.
It was going to be Chuck Wendig until he got kicked to the curb for posting comments on Twitter, which we all do. We all say things on Twitter.
I don't say anything on Twitter. It's full of hate.
Yeah, you just say it on Instagram.
No, I don't say anything. No, if I say something horrible, I'll say it to your face or behind your back. But I wouldn't say it on the social media.
On that note, we'll wrap up the show. That's it for this month's Canon Fodder. We'll be back next month. But coming next week on Fantha Tracks Radio, Adam O'Brien on A Fantha Down Under will be interviewing Adam Bray. We have lots of exciting things to do between now and next month. Matt, where are you going to be?
Well, I'm flying out to New York this week for New York Toy Fair. First time I've been about 10 years. I've been invited to the Hasbro Fan Media event. I've been invited to the Fan Media Lego Breakfast event, where I probably get like 2 tiny croissants and see lots of Lego bricks, which for me is blooming awesome. And there's a few other things going over there. I've got to go and see a few companies about other Star Wars stuff they're doing, and hope to get some interviews. If I get them, they'll be on Fantha Radio on Making Tracks, and all the pictures and videos and stuff will go up on all the Fantha social networks. So follow me on Instagram at Fantha Tracks, or Facebook, or Twitter, or which are the ones we're on, Brian?
Tumblr, Pinterest.
Oh, we're on them as well. Aren't we cool on Down With The Kids?
Yeah.
And and on the YouTubes as well. There'll be some videos going up. There's a few videos Martin's got that he's currently editing that Mark and I filmed last week. Didn't we, Mark? Where was that?
Blimey, where was that? Where did we film that?
I don't know. The NEC.
Autumn Fair?
Yeah.
Spring Fair. Spring Fair,
yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. Even though there's no Star Wars content coming out, we're still getting all the Star Wars content we can for all our fans. So where are you guys this weekend? What have you got? If I'm jetting off to New York, Brian, where are you? Where in the world are you going to be?
I'm going to be in Edinburgh, which is sort of closer to home than because I'm in Norway at the moment.
That's quite local for you, really.
It's still 4 hours away.
That's quite local for you, really.
It is kind of. For once, we're going to lower the drawbridge and let the people from England through the wall up into the White Walkers' territory.
Have you had your shots, Mark? Are you going?
I am going. It's me and Martin Keeler are getting on the I think like the 3 o'clock train from King's Cross all the way up to Edinburgh. 8 hours on the train. Great fun. Looking forward to that. So we're stage hosting. So we've got quite a few Star Wars guests are going to be at the show. Warwick Davis, Katie Cartwheel, Peter Capaldi's there from Doctor Who. So there's a good bunch of people there. So it should be fun. So they're there for the weekend doing that. And then, like I say, Brian's coming up on the at the weekend as well. So yeah, we'll have lots of content from there. We're going to record as much as we possibly can for the YouTube channel, for Fantha TV, and for Making Tracks and the other shows. So yeah, busy times.
Yeah, and it's all for charity, for Chaz, the Children's Hospice charity as well. So that's a great thing too. Thank you for joining us this month on Canon Fodder. We'll be back in the middle of March with more comic book, magazine and partwork news and reviews. Coming up next on Fantha Tracks Radio will be new episodes from Making Tracks and Fantha from Down Under. And you can keep abreast of all the latest going on in Star Wars Galaxy over on fanthatracks.com, as well as our social media at Fantha Tracks on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Tumblr and Pinterest, or on our Fantha Tracks TV service on YouTube.